Welcome to RedBuilt's Video Guides to Revit.
Okay, now that you've gone through the copy monitor or link videos, what do you do with it? As you can see here, I've copy monitored in the customer's project, so these walls and window openings came in from the source project. I've already drawn the mezzanine. I've gone to the north elevation and I've created a section. So the section here allows me to see the customer walls, which I've copy monitored in and renamed with an RB prefix so that I know which ones are mine and which ones are theirs. Turned off the link in this case, so all I have are wall objects. You can see at this point that I know where the top of wall high is and the top of wall low is. Those grids line up with the top of the walls that were drawn in by the customer. So the next thing we want to do is create a reference plane. The reference plane command can be found either from the architectural or the structural tab over here on the right, or you can hit RP. I want to create a reference plane knowing that there's going to be bevel plate on top of this wall. This is the top of the wall that the customer is going to build. So I'm going to start a reference plane from this intersection. I also know that there's going to be bevel plate at the top of the wall that the truss is going to sit on, so I'm going to stop my reference plane at this intersection. I'm going to say bottom of RB truss. Name that reference plane so that you know what it is later because you're going to use it. So at that point you can escape out. You can select that reference plane and you can drag it and it will follow the angle that you've already created. I find that it's helpful to have it sticking out past where the product is going to be so you can grab it later. Now we want to copy our reference plane so that we can get the top of the truss, have one for each. You can't offset a reference plane, but you can copy it. So copy command, reference plane, spacebar, select, and then if you notice, if you rotate here when the original reference plane highlights, you're at a perpendicular plane to the original. So I can come up, rotate, until I'm at the plane I want, 3.5 inches, because I'm using a red S in this case. And now I can rename the top of this truss to top of RedBuilt truss. Okay, now that you've got a reference plane established for the top and the bottom of your truss, what do you do with it? So if we go to the 3D view, structure, work planes, and hit show, you'll see which work plane or reference plane has been set. So that's the default one, is level 1, comes in with your template. If I hit set, however, I can set this to anything that I want. I can set it to a grid, I can set it to a level, or I can set it to a reference plane. So in this case, let's pick the top of the RedBuilt truss reference plane and hit OK. And you'll notice that that just now switched to a sloped plane that we just created. So switching back to, well, actually, let's go to our structural plan, RB top of third. This is a structural working view that I pulled in with my copy monitor. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my show. Let's drop in a truss. So beam, I already have red S's loaded into my job. So let's just drop one in and see what it does. So let's give it 10 panels. It's a pretty long truss. And let's give it a depth of 40 inches. Now going back to my section, you can see that that truss was dropped in poorly. It didn't make it to the wall, but it dropped in following that reference plane that we drew. Now we know that this is sticking up a little bit because red S cords don't come down and touch the bearing, but I can drag that truss and you'll notice that it follows the reference plane because it was drawn using that reference plane as its base point. But what about the opposite plane? Let's switch back to our view. Let's go ahead and grab this truss and slide it over. What happens if we want an outlooker off of this truss? Let's go ahead and grab a structure, beam, see if I have any LVL loaded. There's some 3.5 by 1 3/4. Let's grab an outlooker. Now because that outlooker was drawn with that same reference plane set, what happens if we go to our section view and look for that outlooker? You'll notice that it was also drawn in the same plane. It used the top of truss plane as its reference point. So you can see reference planes are the fast and easy way to draw monoslope roof systems. If you want to do a multi-slope or a warped roof, I recommend reviewing Guy's original video on warped roofs. That's probably the most effective way to do varying slopes. But for monoslope, set your reference plane, go into a section view, draw your trusses, everything should line up. As a double check, you can go to the Annotate tab, spot slope, select your member, and place a slope. It's a great way to get a slope arrow and check that you've put your truss in or joist in at the right angle.
Thank you for watching this video, and please come back to the RedBuilt CAD SharePoint for more information on OneNote, other Revit guides, and other YouTube videos, and also link to 16 bugs for any issues you may have. Again, thank you.